All right, welcome back everybody. So we're gonna work on just continuing trying to get this cab back over top of this frame, get it all set down. Don't have a long way to go. Definitely gonna make a lot of progress in this episode because we've kind of got the initial fitting going. And gonna have to do a little bit more cutting and some more welding and probably beat on some stuff a little bit. I don't remember, it's been a minute since I did this part. So here we go. All right, well, so I had to make trim me a little spot out right here. Just cut it out with a plasma cutter for now. That way, basically, so it will let this section run on up inside this. I also, the pinch weld right here, this flange was really close. It was hitting, kind of dragging. I needed to relieve it a little bit so it would let it slide up in. The 77 body gets a little bit wider, but right here is kind of pinching it off. So as you can see, I kind of took a plasma cutter. I blew me a little clearance hole in it right there. I did that on both sides. That way I can try to get this thing at least lowered into place. I can come back and clean all that up after the fact and re-weld it all in and make it look nice and pretty and strong. But for right now, I really want to get this thing lowered down into place, and that was kind of holding me up. So put the old fire axe to it and away we go. Also, on the floor, this thing right here, I went ahead and just slid it all the way out. It looks like I was around 6 inches, like I said before, but there's some stuff underneath that is kind of hitting between the two floors that's keeping me from sliding it forward as far as I want. So I'm gonna have to just kind of trim some off of that section of floor, trim a little bit underneath this right here, and I'll have to kind of take a look at this back section back here, see what I can move around. This is where the factory body bolt is. I can cut that mount off the frame and move it forward. That's not a problem if I want to slide the whole thing forward, but this is my rear seat bolt mount right here. So that, like I said, is gonna really determine the seating position in the truck. Obviously the seat does move forward and back a little bit. So essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the truck lowered down over the firewall, like you can kind of see inside right here. Kind of see how she's starting to come together slowly there. Looks like I may run into it. No, it should be fine. Just kind of see how it's slowly starting to come together there. We'll get the rest of this finished out later. I'm not gonna say it's the easy part, but compared to getting all this at the front to line up and get it to play nice, this stuff is a lot more important because that's where everything mounts to control this stupid thing. So I'm gonna keep whittling on it and see, and hopefully when I come back here in just a minute, hopefully this dude will be sitting down on that firewall. All right, well, I had it down to, I don't know, 6-7 inches, and this top right here, the top of the firewall, is coming into contact with this part of the inner structure right here, which was kind of hidden behind the old dash. I left it in just to see if I could, to be honest with you. I've also got a little strip right here on the pinch weld that was actually where I cut the old dash out. I left it on the pinch weld there, just because I figured I could clean it up and kind of get away with saving it. I'm gonna have to cut this out, unfortunately. So I'm gonna cut that guy out, and that should give me the clearance that I need to finish dropping this dude down on top here. So I'm gonna start grinding spot welds, and we'll be back with the next. Just give you kind of a quick look at what I'm working with here. Everything else is actually kind of sliding in there together pretty decent so far. It's gonna be a whole lot of body work to do after the fact to get all this stuff to kind of mesh together, but I'll get there. All right, I'm back. So I had to remove a vent right here, which is the air intake for the air box. I don't know if you can see from right here. I got that piece of inner structure cut out. You'll notice I whittle a little bit as I go. I like to try to leave as much of the stock structure in as I can, because that's just less stuff that I have to rebuild after the fact. There you go. You can kind of see there. Opened all that up all the way across. That way my new floor can hopefully come and meet up with that pinch weld right there at the top. Now I'm going to change my camera position, see if I can put it on the inside while I try to let this thing down. See if hopefully we can get this cab all the way down on this floor now. All right, well, I got it kind of set in here. We'll see how well this works before something gets in the way massively. Looks like it won't be long. Let's see here. Hopefully we can get her all the way in there this time. Oh, starting to catch on something here. Oh, there we go. Looks like the antenna wire. I didn't go ahead and take that out. I don't know. Should be sitting pretty good to the wheel well right now. Ooh, getting real close. So we'll keep on coming. Looks like our pinch weld might slide right inside the cab like I'm hoping it will. Looks like we got about 8 inches to come down before we hit pay dirt. All right, so hopefully we can get her going this last little bit right here. Found another little spot that was kind of hanging up. So we're down to about the last 6 inches and we'll just about be to pay dirt. However, I do see one little problem. I see our bar in the middle right there is hitting. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that. Well, there you go. Sometimes even the best laid plans get screwed up. Couldn't figure out why the cab wouldn't come down anymore. Well, that bar that I put in to keep the cab proper width apart and everything was hitting the trans hump right there. So I cannot take that bar out right now because there's just, the structure's too weak. So if I did that, it would pretty much ruin the entire project. So I had to just cut an opening in the floor right there so it would let that bar pass on through so we can try to get this thing home. You can see we just got a couple inches to go now. We're not far. A little bit more whittling, got that done. So now hopefully I'm about to let this thing down and put it in its home. So I'll get the camera set up here and we'll see if we can get this dude dropped into place. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can send it home now. All right, I had to trim one little spot out on the cowl right there, but we should have enough to let this thing down. Hopefully get it home. So let's see. Whatever it is, it wasn't hitting a minute ago. Oh, I think I see it. I think in the middle of all that, the chassis rolled back just a little bit while I was leaning on it. So I could bump it up just a touch and then come back down. There it went. There we go. Get her back freed up. Just gotta come down a little at a time, that's all. Everything's still free. Ooh, getting close. Oh yeah, still nice and free now. Just about there. I'm gonna have to whittle a little bit more out. Dang it. Either that or I could just probably cut a notch right here in this. I hate to do that though, because that's right where the hood and everything bolts. Kind of a lot going on right there. And cut a little bit more. Alright. Well, let me get the plasma cutter and I'll cut me another little notch just a little bit deeper right here. All right, here we go again. Try number 987. We're already trying to get on this side. That's good. up over there again. Came down so much easier last time. There. Just need a little wiggle apparently. Fits in there even better than I thought it would. Come on, baby. Ah, what is it? Alright, this piece right here is pissing me off. I've done good about not cussing about making these videos, but I'm about to lose my cool. I'm gonna have to crawl in there and look. I think the bar right there is hitting the top of the transmission. It's stopping it from getting that last little bit. Let me look, see. So, the good side was the bar was not hitting the transmission. However, it was, I didn't cut the notch deep enough in the floor right there. So, I came back, I cut the notch a little bit deeper. Hopefully we can get it all the way down this time. So, let's see. Oh my God, it is a little bit. It sure is. Is it on that side? Can you see? I mean, ease in here and take a look at it. It's so close. And we're not hitting here. Yep, it's hitting the top of the transmission. Right there. Like a plug or, I don't know, a piece of casting or something sticking up dead where that bar is right there. Oh my God. I'm literally on right there. All right, so I'm back. Well, after the other night when I got discouraged because I kept trying to let the body down and I got it to about an inch from being all the way down. The bar that was in there was hitting the top of the transmission, so I had to go and run to Home Depot and get me a piece of square tubing and weld that in and then cut the lower bar out. Now I got to get that chunk of the floor. I got to peel that stupid thing out of there. That way it won't hit when the body comes down. Or actually not when the body comes down. That way it's just not in the stinking way. I let it down. It got to within an inch. And this front cowl right here from the 2000 model, it hits kind of right along in here on the passenger side, not really on this side, but on the passenger side, it hits all in the area where the air box pulls the fresh air in, right there. You can see I've already got it, I cut it as far as I could cut it to allow this to come in. I'm not gonna cut this section because that's the main structure of the 77. So what I'm actually going to do, I don't really need this whole tray across here. I went and looked on the other cab and it looks like I've got about 2.5 inches from the base of this down to the top of the air box. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna come right in along the pinch weld right here where the firewall, the vertical section of the firewall meets this tray right here, and I'm gonna cut this thing off all the way across. That way I can go in and get my firewall and stuff in place and set and get everything as far as all my joints to the A post and everything kind of set in stone. Then I can come back and kind of locate this where it needs to be. Like I said, I know I've got about 2 inches that I can play with it. I can drop this thing down and just remake the air intake tube for the air box, and I can make that fit. I'm also still trying to keep hope alive that I can mount the windshield wiper, I don't even know really what you'd call them, the little assemblies from the 77. That way I can still have functioning windshield wipers, because that would be pretty cool. Or else I'll just use Rain-X. It's not that big a deal. So that's what I'm about to do right now. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off and get it all trimmed up. That way hopefully we can let this cab all the way down and get it sitting in place and kind of see where we're at height-wise and see where we got to go from there. So hang tight. See you soon. All right, ladies and gents. So after about half a day of grinding and cleaning up metal and everything, I trimmed up under the cowl right there just a little bit, kind of cleaned it up some. Like I said earlier, I moved the bar. I got that chunk of metal out of there that I'm going to have to replace now. I also came back and cut out that big trough across the front. Got it all cleared away, so we should be able to drop that guy on down in there now. Hopefully get things start lining up pretty good for us. I'm gonna probably just tack it all in place initially in a couple of spots till I can get the back half of the floor all figured out. And I also had to cut a little notch right there, as you can see, for that little area that protrudes right there on the A-post. That guy right there. That way it'll kind of let it extend into the floor just a little bit there. So I'm gonna let this thing down, see if it fits. Finally, so there it is. Well, there you go. Episode 6 is a wrap. I tried to make it as interesting as I could. I talked to a couple of friends of mine that watch my videos, and they say that, you know, it's important. I gotta try to be as entertaining as possible. So I'm gonna try and make it a little bit less monotonous and a little bit less downtime in my footage. I cut a ton out of that, making that. There was so much up and down and just little tiny stuff along the way that I originally felt like was important, but get kind of mundane watching it. We still got a long way to go to get everything in there right. This is just actually, it's physically together. Now's the hard part. Now is make it all look like it's supposed to be together. So stay tuned. Episode 7 is gonna be a good one. I'm gonna try and see if we can't meld this thing together and make it one. See you soon.